a Motorsport Podcast Network production. Great to have you with us. This is the Pack Up Podcast on the V8 Sleuth podcast for the National Motor Racing Museum at Mount Panorama. Open 6 days a week, not on Tuesdays, but we are counting down to the big one, the Bathurst 1000. We're on the road officially now because the Sprint Cup's done, the Enduros are coming. Mark Walker's here with me to pack up a big weekend at Queensland Raceway in Ipswich. And there's, well, let's put it this way, MW, lots to talk about. But what's the number one topic to come from the weekend for you?
All of it. It was spicy. I loved it. It was just the way I like it. We talked up Queensland Raceway as being a good racetrack, and that was some good racing there on a Sunday afternoon, wasn't it?
Yeah, we got a bit of everything. The Saturday sprints they are a real busy day, but before we get into what happened to who on the track and how it all unfolded and what we thought, I have got to say, well bloody done to everybody at Queensland Raceway, at Supercars, everybody involved. That was a crowd. That's the first time at a regular racetrack round for a long time I could remember seeing so many people, hearing from people at the track. Yes, never good to have traffic issues or not enough toilets or long lines, but that took me back to the 2000s, mate. You've been going to that track for a long time. That took me back to the good old days where you had to be at the track 6:30, 7 a.m. in the morning rather than just rolling in 10 minutes before qualifying. Sensational.
Yeah, you treat them mean to keep them keen, don't you? There's probably lessons to be learned about the traffic because they had to put a massive traffic management system in place after that debacle in 99, which turned a lot of people off. It took some people 2 hours to get out of the car park last night, which is something that happens at Willowbank. Like if you go out there for the Winter Nationals, it takes you more than 2 hours to get out of the car park. So learning things there. Hopefully they do find a space on the calendar to have them back next year.
That would be such a travesty if they've spent, 6 years between drinks, get the round back, have a great round, amazing racing on Sunday, big crowds, and then for it to not happen again next year. That would be a catastrophe. And from what we're hearing, still this thing's ongoing around making 14 rounds next year. And the hurdle is the teams who, they're supposed to be paid a certain amount per round above the existing arrangement. They've got to find a way to make this happen come hell or high water. If this track's not on the calendar next year, it's an absolute disgrace.
Oh, agree. We're going to small towns in New Zealand because they get paid the money and it makes financial sense for Supercars to do that. Here's a heartland venue in an area that's got a big population base that are motorsport keen, and it was an accessible meet. Like, it was cheap to get a pit pass. It was cheap to get in. So you're opening up that meet to a demographic that doesn't necessarily go to the Gold Coast, I think. So it was good to see that people did turn out and prove the knockers wrong.
Yeah, heartland for the sport, always has been, always will be. Makes you start to wonder too. So this is a round that obviously has a real history now. That track's been there for 25 years, so it's actually got runs on the board. And yes, it's been imperfect in previous years. Yes, the track layout's not exciting, but it's just one of those ones that they have to find a way to make that work in the future. Yes, even our own reporter, Connor O'Brien, was stuck in traffic Saturday morning trying to get into the track. TV personnel were, teams were. Never perfect to have that sort of stuff, but knowing Tony Quinn and Josie Spillane, who works with him in New Zealand on those tracks over there, they'll fix that next year. There'll be nothing like that will go on. They will review it and make sure it doesn't happen again because they get that it's the customer first. I love the fact too, just a quick aside, that Quinny went and rolled the Tyrrell six-wheeler out for a gap between qualifying sessions on Saturday. That's the sort of stuff that it's just a bit of flavour here and there that keeps a bit of interest in and a bit of, what's going on here? What's going on there? I loved it. I thought that was fantastic. We should do more of that more often at more rounds. No, not that everyone's got a six-wheel Tyrrell at their up their sleeve.
Well, clearly. Good podium set up there too that they used on Saturday. I like that.
Yeah, really great. And I loved Sunday too. But the big key was that one at the back of the control tower building now, mate, where they've built it up off the edge of that. Crowds there. Yep, there's room for the teams underneath, but you've got to have a podium with crowds fans, public being underneath it. Don't limit it for a team-only type podium. It's an absolute key. And I tell you what, speaking of Sunday podiums, I think we had a statistical first at Queensland Raceway. The first Nana to ever accept the team's representative trophy award. Brock Feeney got his Nana and his mum up there. I loved it. I thought it was great. Brock doesn't drink. His Nana took a swig. Loved it. Can we get Nana Feeney back for future rounds to get up there if he wins? Doesn't drink the champagne. Get her there to have a swig. Well played. Loved it.
Pay that. We talk about podiums. What about the youngest ever podium on Saturday?
Oh, wild. Does that make you feel old when the average age of the podium is, I think it's 21 years and however many days?
Everything makes me feel old, Noons. The ARCA race at Watkins Glen this weekend was won by a 15-year-old. And go, oh, yeah, cool. No, 15 years was 2010.
God.
Like, that was last week. Come on.
Yeah, that's dangerous. I tell you who was dangerous, and we just mentioned him. Brock Feeney is in Van Gisbergen, McLaughlin, Scaife, Ambrose, insert legendary period here territory. I mean, he has them absolutely bamboozled at the moment. I mean, when you look at it, he lost the second race on Saturday because of the wheel rotating, however many millimetres. It was there, though. Don't get me wrong. That was a penalty. It was so close, but it was a penalty. And then on Sunday, with the whole ability for those cars that hadn't stopped to do 2 under the 80k full course yellow, which we'll talk about later, I'm sure. I mean, he did have to pass a couple of cars, but it was never really in doubt because so much speed on board, no one was even close. He is a raging hot, red-hot favourite for the Bend, for Bathurst, the finals, and everything from here because, I mean, look at the numbers. They're stunning, and he is whooping Will Brown. Like, it was like you saw that hurt in him in Adelaide last year when he watched Brown come into the team first year, win the trophy, get all the plaudits, and he had fallen short again. And clearly he's so hard on himself. But the resolve, the fire, whatever he did in the off-season, whatever he does between rounds, they all need to bottle up some of that because he is in rarefied air here. And they're lucky, the field is so lucky that we're running the new finals format because in the old system of just keep adding up the points right through to the last round, I reckon we'd be giving him the trophy after the Gold Coast as it sits the way that it's sort of looking. I mean, look at the points. He's 2,063. He's 337, just over a weekend up on Brown. He's 345 on Payne. He's 515 on Waters. And he's 652 on Mostert. He's 2 rounds in front of Chaz. I mean, they are all so lucky that the system is how it is this year because they would all be just writing it off by now.
You look at his scorecard, 14th to start the year at Sydney Motorsport Park, 15th in Taupo. Everything else is big points. Huge.
Huge.
5 rounds in a row. So the stats coming out of that, other people to have scored 5 rounds in a row.
As in 5 round wins, top scorer for the weekend, which, although it's not a stat that they really talk about anymore, it still counts. It's still very relevant.
Oh, it still counts. So Simmons Plains, Western Australia, Hidden Valley, Townsville, now Queensland Raceway. Shane Van Gisbergen, 2022. Jim Richards, 1985. Mark Scaife, 2002. Alan Moffat, 1972 and 77. Brock Feeney, 2025.
It's Guruville, isn't it? I mean, and he's gone and put himself the 2 biggest qualifying pole-winning margins in Queensland Raceway Supercars history over the last 2 days. He scored on Sunday the biggest win since James Courtney in 2010 at Queensland Raceway. I mean, we would need a whole Brock Feeney podcast to go through the numbers that he's been. Was it 13 of 25 poles? That gets him at just over 50%. I think it's 52%. That's pretty much tracking for second only to McLaughlin in 17 for percentages of poles. The rest of them must be just fearful. And the guy that has to be the most fearful is the guy in the other car because he's absolutely ripping Will Brown apart here. And he just doesn't seem to have any answers at all.
Brown only 2 wins for the season. 1 came yesterday when Brock got pinged. It's just slim pickings for everyone else, isn't it? Outside of Brodie there, Friday afternoon in Townsville, nobody's getting any scores on the board, are they?
No, he's banking the points and he's grabbing fastest lap points, and he's. I mean, it's not good for the sport. It's the classic someone dominating is not good for the game, but you just have to sit there and go, wow, this is something special. And I know a lot of people will go, oh, but it's Red Bull and it's Triple Eight again. And yeah, it is. We really desperately need to see someone else step up. But the reality is, no matter, that team's in a different era now. It's not Roland Dane and Ludo Lacroix and Jeremy Moore and Craig Lowndes, and, that era's gone. But you replace the pieces and they still are punching out the same results at the same high level. It's scary how good it is, but it also says what are the rest doing, because they've managed to sort of do this for the best part of 20 years. It's quite unbelievable. Plenty of other things to step through, mate, and we'll go in no particular order, but we've covered off that the event was a great tick. Absolutely, I thought it was fantastic, and I was so happy to see that crowd. I'm underlining it, I know, but I thought that was really fantastic. In Will Brown's heart of hearts, he knows that race win on Saturday that he got because Brock had that penalty. He knows that he was done in that one too. I mean, Brock's wheel rotated. You could see it. It definitely was a jump. It doesn't matter if it's by 1 millimetre or 1 kilometre. A jump's a jump. But Will Brown knows the deal there. Like, he got a free one on the board for that one. But Tickford, worst weekend of the year. I mean, Cam Waters, it's this whole full course yellow scenario on Sunday that got him a trophy, because what did he start? 19th or wherever it was. Randall is right on the edge of being dropped out of the 10. He's 10th in the points now, and if you look at his graph over the last 5 rounds, it's plummeting. Like that's their worst weekend, and they've had some not so flash ones, but that one stunk. And even they got a trophy for it, which wasn't because they were fast at all.
Yeah, I mean, you look at race 1 Saturday, started 11th, finished 17th after having it off at the last corner there. 5th Saturday afternoon. Sunday qualifying 19th wasn't good enough, but got absolutely kissed by that safety car situation there, wasn't it? Tommy Randall, he's in a bit of hurt at the moment, isn't he? He's dropping back in the points. He's holding on to 10th, but he was 8th coming into the weekend. Race results of 10th, 19th and 14th. That's not good enough.
No, it's not going to get it done. And his big problem's Kai Allen. Allen's only 20 points behind him now in 11th in the Penrite 26 car. So Kai goes and punches 2 podiums this weekend, albeit one of them was like Cam Waters, was advantaged by being able to take those 2 stops under the full course yellow while everyone was driving around at 80 Ks. We will cover that topic in just a minute. But with the way that Randall's heading, I mean, he's 10th on 1,062, Allen's 1,042, Ryan Wood's 9th on 1,074, and Heimgartner's 8th on 1,085. We've got a ring-a-ding-dinger here for who's going to get into the 10. And I couldn't help but today, Sunday, think that a guy who just absolutely threw away being in, the 10 or closer to the 10 was Cameron Hill. I could not believe the brain explosion that occurred in car 4 when he basically served Zach Bates twice and tried to, I don't know if he was just driving angry or if he had the shits with the world, or I don't know, but that has cost, he got a pit lane penalty for what he did there. That's cost a bulk amount of points in the biggest point race of the weekend, and he was fighting with a bloke who's not even in the championship. Like, it was absolute madness. I don't understand how that even occurred or got to that point. If that was a circuit breaker breaking, that was bad, because that might cost them a spot in the finals.
100%. He finished 7th in the first race, but then 16th, 24th. That's not good enough. But you look at those mixed bag of results for guys on the bubble. Andre Heimgartner couldn't qualify to save himself in the weekend. No. 20th, 19th, 20th. That's Andre Heimgartner. He's 8th in the points. That is so far off the pace. Had some dramas there in the first race. Had a flat tyre and a spin. Finished outside the top 20. 12th in race 2, so he obviously raced all right and got pretty lucky there with the safety car break on Sunday. So that was dodgy, but Ryan Wood as well. Some good results to start the weekend. 3rd and 3rd, great. Good qualifying there in the top 10 shootout on Sunday, 2nd. But then got the 15 seconds for punting Brown on Sunday, which another guy there, ninth in the points, he doesn't need that. If he just pulled his head in and didn't spin him out.
Yeah. Well, and he said on TV to Garth Tanner and Chad Nalon that it wasn't his intent to wreck Will Brown. He just made a mistake and got in too deep. But, gee, they were a fair way into the corner by the time that contact came to the back of the number one Camaro. So, and then points to Ryan Wood. The guy's got great personality, and we want to see more of it, that he called out Nathan Prendergast. The Nathan that he mentioned on the TV, Nathan's the head of television, head of broadcast at Supercars, because Ryan wanted to have the vision shown of what Will did to him coming out of turn 6, where it wasn't much in the way of contact. But they did find the vision of the slowdown lap where Ryan and Will got into it and Will flipped the bird. And if you have a look on the V8 Sleuth website, they've both spoken to Conor O'Brien and given one another a fair character reference. I love it. We want some rivalry. We want some niggle, and we want to carry this on. Like, the storyline has to keep flowing into the next few rounds, that one guy's locked in because Brown and Payne, as well as Brock Feeney, Feeney punches the ticket by winning the Sprint Cup. Brown and Payne are in because they're now far enough in front of being dropped out of the 10 over the next 2 rounds that they are also going to be through into the finals to the Gold Coast. But Wood's on the bubble here. Like, he's not 10th, but he's not far away from it. So, a mistake there on a weekend where otherwise he did a beautiful job. It looks like it could really cost him if they don't get good results at the Enduro. So there was massive brake explosions going on in that last race. It was like the last day of school it was like the old days of the Touring Car Championship with the sprint races finishing before you go to the Enduros. But man, there was some serious mind explosions going on.
Yeah, that's just what 3 days in Ipswich will do to a man. How about the rain too? I'm an advocate for rain and just dodgy weather and not knowing what's going to happen.
That was wild.
Even the qualifying there with
that was wilder. That was wilder.
That was fantastic. And it was the guys out there hammering around in dries on a wet track that got the lap time out of it. The guys out there in wets were nowhere.
I thought that was going to be the wrong call to stay out into that Saturday qualifying session when it rained. But I just want to cover off with Sunday because I've alluded to it a couple of times. The full course yellow when Cam Crick went off the road down at turn 6 ended up in the bunker and needing a pitching wedge to get him back out of there. So we ended up in a scenario where we had, was it Allen, Waters and Heimgartner who had been staying out during that race and not pitted. So we end up with everyone on speed limiters, full course yellow, but we stay under that for ages to the point where they can each have 2 pit stops to meet the minimum quota, that they pop out in front of Brock Feeney. I mean, I think we've gone... I'm an advocate for safety, absolutely, and that cars speeding around trying to catch the safety car was always wrong, but we've gone way too far the other way. Imagine trying to explain Sunday afternoon's race to the non-hardcore follower of how these 3 guys ended up running 1, 2, 3 after this period and how they could... Like, it just doesn't... It's like we've gone too far on the whole thing. We need to come back to... Not back to where we were, but somewhere halfway in between, because to me, it sort of seems and feels really weird that the car that's in the gravel's gone, but we're still rolling around and a couple of free kicks here and there. And I get that they don't want double stacking, but I think we've gone too far here. It's sort of a bit laughable to watch.
And don't forget, we're rolling up to 2 long tracks coming up at the Bend and Bathurst. So if we're doing all this time faffing around behind safety cars or at 80 k's an hour, it's going to drag out there once again, which isn't what you want to see, is it?
No. And, Sandown last year was proof of that. That was just excruciating. And we're going to go to the Enduros with this lucky dog rule still in place, which I absolutely hate.
Yep.
It's gimmicky and it's rubbish. I don't like it. Don't like it at all.
It rewards mediocrity.
Yeah.
We don't have a problem at these Enduros. Oh, we need more cars on the lead lap. No, you just need 2 cars battling for the lead.
Yeah.
That's what makes Bathurst great. It's not, oh wow, we've got 20 cars in the lead lap. Who cares? The guy on 20th isn't going to affect the outcome of the race. It's having a good race for the lead is what you want.
Yeah, and some people might be critical. I mean, I like the finals concept. I like creating storylines. I like making the people 5th to 13th more relevant during the year. So some people might say, yeah, but the Lucky Dog's kind of like the same thing. Like you're bringing more people into the game, but that's in a very condensed situation on the day. And, sure, you can get lucky sometimes and, work hard during the day, get half a lap back, safety car falls at the right time, you're back in the game. Sure, I got no problem with that, but free kicks for, cars that are just not worthy of being in the fight just doesn't grab me. It just doesn't grab me. One of the things I wanted to cover off that seems to be emerging too here, Mark, is Conor O'Brien wrote on our website, V8 Sleuth, recently an opinion piece about Matt Stone Racing. It just feels and looks like, from what we're hearing in the pit lane, that we could be in a scenario that team's having its best ever season, yet will part ways with its 2 drivers at the end of the year. And I've talked to a lot of people connected to the sport and around the place lately. I thought Nick Percat and Matt Stone Racing were all in love, but it sounds like that love's ending, and that he might be on the market looking for a new home, even though he's got a contract for another couple of years, which is just staggering how these things can get to this position. But it sounds like this team is, their season's falling apart from the inside out.
That's crazy. Like, it's a race-winning organisation, isn't it? It seems like if you talked about them after the Grand Prix, it's a place where you would have wanted to be. So that's interesting. What about the Sprint Cup? I've got some theories here on how all this is going down.
Okay.
And the format we've got going on. So
hit me.
Just to summarise the state of play. So you win the Sprint Cup, automatic entry. You win the Enduro Cup, automatic entry.
Yep.
I wonder if they actually ran the simulations on the points coming into QR, because there's 3 guys already qualified without having to do anything, sort of thing. That the first, Brock wrapped up the Sprint Cup on Saturday. That's not necessarily my problem here. So we all know that the points reset after Bathurst. The Sprint Cup and Enduro Cup winners, they get 25 points each. Then there's bonus points for the guys in the top 10. 150 points for first, down to 21 points for 10th. Those bonus points that they go into the Gold Coast with. So Brock Feeney, he can essentially race freely at Bathurst if he's got that 300 points. If he still needs to race to stay on top of the points and book his 150 bonus points, is he going to race as freely? I don't know. That's
I think everyone races at those Enduros like they normally would. The whole, whether it should be in the championship or not, I don't think it changes how they approach it.
So basically the bottom 3 after the Gold Coast eliminated, then bottom 3 after Sandown eliminated, top 4 in Adelaide. Great.
Yep.
So I have a bit of a problem with the finals cutting off at Bathurst, and the problem is that the Bathurst 1000's our grand final, and it will absolutely take all the attention off the cutoff for the top 10. I mean, when it gets to Sunday afternoon, what are we going to be talking about? The race for the win or the race for 10th? And if we're talking about the race for 10th, then we're taking the attention off the guy who's winning the race. If we're talking about the guy winning the race, we're not talking about the race for 10th.
What's your solution then, Guru Swami?
I've got a solution. So basically, I would cut off the top 10 at Queensland Raceway.
Right now.
I'd cut it off right now. Have the Enduros as a wild card round. So if you're outside the 10 and you win Bathurst or Sandown, you get...
Or the Bend, you mean? The Bend.
Yeah, the Bend, sorry. So
don't turn up at Sandown, whatever you do, listeners.
That'd be bad for your finals hopes.
Yeah.
But you look at NASCAR. I love NASCAR. I'm an advocate for NASCAR and how they run their finals, their playoff system over there. They've got a 36-week program. So they had to do this because there was times when in a 36 race season, guys would just run away with the championship. Even in the 10 race straight playoffs that they used to have, you guys wrap it up early. It'd be pointless. But the way they've got it now, that they've got stage breaks, they've got bonus points the whole way through. Every part of every race means something. People don't necessarily like it, but every part of the NASCAR season actually means something. Then they get to a point 11 weeks out from the finish. It's just an arbitrary point in time that's an otherwise completely meaningless thing. So that'll wind up being Daytona this year. It was Richmond last year. That's your cutoff race. That's the big storyline. You're making a big storyline out of an otherwise meaningless, essentially, sprint race. So you come to Queensland Raceway, you've been building up to this top 10 cutoff over Hidden Valley, over Townsville, over Queensland Raceway. It's a big storyline. You can focus your talk around that battle for 10th. We're not here worried about, who's going to win the Sprint Cup. Yeah, great. But get all those 10 guys in, then they can sort of race freely, but they still want to get bonus points. You'd put bonus points on for the endurance races to make that meaningful. But then if you have a wildcard winner, you're going to the postseason.
Well, I like it. I like it. I think one of the things I was starting to think was that perhaps the top 10 cutoff could be after the bend, because at the end of the day, Bathurst is, what you do at Bathurst is a big part of your year. Brodie Kostecki wasn't even in the first few rounds of last year, finished nowhere in the championship, but won Bathurst. So that counts for a big chunk of whether you deem the year a success. Now, that's a very different circumstance what happened last year with Erebus. But look at it. The top 10 drivers in the championship right now, if you go to Randall in 10th, he is 1,001 points behind the championship leader, Brock Feeney. Let's face it, the guy that's 10th after right now, or Bathurst, ain't going to win the championship. It's not going to happen. It would need a miracle for that to occur in those final 3 rounds. So I like where you're going with this. If we're going to finish the Sprint Cup, like right now, we would probably do ourselves out of a really good storyline, though, of who's going to sneak in, because, Allen, Hill, even Percat, they're all still around the mix to make it into the 10. But really, your point before is right. When it comes to Bathurst, we're not looking at the points of who's going to be where in the championship. Everyone's all in, whether they're racing it or watching it or commentating it or on the beers at home watching it, about what's happening to win Bathurst. The whole, what it means for the championship, that's the bit that just flows out of it in the aftermath. So, I like where you're going with this. I think that the reality is, if you're not in the 10 by, 8 rounds into 13, it's a pretty solid chunk of the year, you're not going to really play a factor in. So, I like what you're saying there, because, I think you're on the money there. Bathurst will always stand up as what's happening on the day, and then, use that. There should be bonus points on the line for Bathurst because of its standing and what it really means, beyond just the bonus points for the guy that wins the Enduro Cup. That would be something. But look, I'm not that aggrieved by this year's format. I actually don't mind it on the whole, but let's do it for a year and see how it actually flows out. But I like where you're going with it.
Look, you saw the brain explosions today when we're still 2 rounds away from the cutoff. If this was the cutoff, imagine the other brain explosions we would have had to get to that situation. But the thing in NASCAR, they get to that cutoff race, then they get all the drivers together for photos and media, and they can start selling the playoffs over there.
Yeah.
I can't see Sunday afternoon at Bathurst, you assembling those 10 guys.
No.
I've dealt with a lot of people who've been flogged at Bathurst over the years, and you're not going to get them to get anything meaningful out of that. So what are they going to do? They're going to wait until Friday morning in the Gold Coast. Then you've missed all that opportunity.
And then you can't build it. You haven't built it. Yeah, it's a great point. Yeah, and we're talking with our media and media relations managers hats on, but it's a very relevant point, because you need the mainstream media to understand how this is working. And then the key is to come out of a result from a weekend of racing and then be straight away into what it means for the next one, not kind of have a big pause before you get to the next one. So, there might be some tweaks that need to be made, but right here, right now, as we sit, Brock Feeney could not turn up for the 2 endurance races, and it's only the 3 guys behind him on the championship table that would get past him, or could get past him. Doesn't mean they will. Chaz Mostert could win both the Enduros and still be 52 points behind Brock Feeney, such has been his level of domination. Something else I'd like to touch on, and I think this was touched on actually on a V8 Sleuth podcast recently. Sunday qualifying in Ipswich, the pushing back of cars into the fast lane. How was Richie Stanaway? Just went, I don't give a crap what the protocol is. If you've pushed the car in and it takes forever to get going, I'm going to give it a shove. And then when the guy tries to merge, I'm not going to let him. I'm going to get going. Because those teams at the back end of pit lane get screwed so often because of where they are. He just took it upon himself and said, no, you're not getting in here, whether it was Anton or Bryce Fullwood, giving him one on the way through. I thought it was great, but if that happened in a race, penalty. Can't have contact in the pit lane. Can't block the fast lane. Can't do this. But in qualifying, it's kind of this, whatever. But it has a serious impact on those teams in the second half of the pit lane. So what do we do about it? Because it feels like this whole, if you're the last team and you're driving down the fast lane, you could have that happen 7 times between getting onto the road and cost you 15, 25 seconds, the difference between getting another lap and not.
Well, exactly. Like, what did we see in the first qualifying Saturday morning for that first race when there was that big traffic jam and half the guys there down the back didn't get a lap at all?
Yeah.
Because they're all just out there playing absolute silly buggers with it.
Yeah, it's crazy.
That's crazy.
It's crazy. You look at the rules for full course yellows and it's about safety, and yet we let this other stuff happen and you go, that's not safe. That's all silly. Like at Tassie where they're all driving slowly and there's always someone fast weaving their way through trying to get on a lap. So I think sometimes it's a bit choosy on when we go the safety path or not. But good on Richie Stanaway. I liked it because, hey, he's in the fast lane. You've got right of way if you're in the fast lane. Fair play.
What do we think of the oil bottle left on Jackson Evans' car in practice?
Was it oil or was it...
That was the only talking point in the whole thing.
There wasn't much on Friday to talk about, was it? But was it a power steering fluid bottle?
Sure.
It was Penrite, whatever it was. It was a bit of a first, but there has been tools left in cars that have fallen out onto racetracks. So we're having a giggle about it, but it looked pretty empty from what I saw on the TV. But yeah, there wasn't really much in Friday to get all out of control about. A couple of practice sessions. BJR boys might be more careful next time they send a car that got caught out by that one.
Chas Mostert, he looks a bit miffed by Ryan Wood's speed, doesn't he?
Yeah, definitely. Was pretty... I mean, he's normally gold on the post-shootout TV interview on the warm-down lap, but
nothing.
Today he gave Crompo and Scafie nothing. He was a very unhappy man, and yeah, if you go back, the last 5 or 6 rounds, Ryan Wood's probably been on top more often than not for him now. He's out-qualified him pretty comprehensively over the year so far, so... Yeah, Chaz has been a more frustrated Chaz more times than not this year. But what's good for them is that they've got 2 competitive cars. Like the number 2 car's not really been a point scorer in the Teams Championship for a long time now, but they've got that with Ryan Wood. They're actually a real deal in the Teams Championship compared to other years. So, look, you take that away as that's a positive as well. But, it's... You could just see it in Chazzy, can't you? You definitely know when he's not on and not happy, and just could not switch on the tyre for that shootout lap. And I mean, he's not had a pole in a top 10 shootout since Bathurst 2021 when he lobbed that amazing lap to put the pole before he won the race with Lee Holdsworth the day after. So, yeah, shootouts and Chaz. He gets into them, but he doesn't really have much in terms of the numbers that he's putting up once he gets into them. So that's got to be frustrating because we're going to have lots of shootouts now between now and the back end of the year.
Anton De Pasquale's got a bit of consistency going here.
Yeah.
That's 8 straight results in the top 10, and it looks speedy. It looks like that's where he should belong. And so many of these guys are in and out and all over the place. I think they're going to be interesting to watch over the Enduros. Harry Jones, although he's an absolute newcomer to supercars, he's got plenty of miles in tin top V8 powered car. His family owns old Todd Kelly V8 supercar that he's banged around in a lot. So it's not like he's a complete newbie to it all. Clearly he's on form. He had a baby boy Saturday morning at 4:20 or 4 a.m. whatever it was.
Impressive.
Rolled up to the track, flogged everyone all weekend.
Yeah.
That's going to be interesting to see how Harry goes.
Yeah, and Anton's numbers have been good. I mean, he improved his Queensland Raceway career best over the course of the weekend. It kept getting better every time I entered his numbers into the spreadsheet. So they've definitely taken a step forward, Team 18, whether it's the Team 18 homologation, Team Chev stuff. No doubt in the background, though, now that Jeremy Moore is free of his 888 commitments and he's not parked up, he's not allowed to, from my understanding, he's not allowed to go to races as part of his sort of agreement to be released by 888, and he's not allowed to go to team workshops. But was it this week I saw there's a story floating around. There's a plan for the Chevy teams to head to North America for a bit of a let's get together summit with all the Supercars teams and Chevrolet and GM in North America. So I don't think that was in the 888 thing of that you can't go and meet up with them on the other side of the planet. That's probably wasn't one that was in the dot points.
Have 888 not heard of the telephone? What's going on here?
The Zoom call. It's a thing. It's a thing. Harry Jones, you just mentioned, that was such an impressive performance. So he got pole on Friday. First child born at 4-something a.m. Saturday morning. 1 hour sleep, back to the track, flogs him by 7 or 8 seconds in the Carrera Cup race. I'm excited to see him make his Supercars debut because we're going into that next era now. We're going to start to see some of these young drivers getting opportunities. Zach Bates on the weekend with his main game debut. There's some Super 2 guys that are starting to bubble along well. And you mentioned it, that record youngest podium, which we've lowered the record on that a couple of times in the last few years. We're in the new era now, mate. It's about the 20-somethings. They're the real deal, and they're coming on through. And there's going to be a lot of change in the paddock layout in the next couple of years of some of the names that we've known and loved. You'll see them twice a year at the Enduros, and they're going to end up losing their seats as contracts come up and teams need the next hot young thing. But, Harry Jones, how many times have we seen drivers come out of Carrera Cup and it just doesn't quite work when they go Supercars? There's sort of been more of them that haven't caught fire in Supercars than have. But he's a guy that deserves his shot. He's been winning fast and doing stuff in the junior categories. He's earned his opportunity, that's for sure. But, geez, talking about enduro drivers, didn't they give Fabian Coulthard an absolute pummeling in the last corner and last lap of that 86 GR Cup race today? Oh, my God. He was looking good for a podium, and then all of a sudden he was looking at the tyre barrier the other way at turn 6, and I don't think he did anything wrong.
The GR Cup was red hot this weekend. All their races were sensational. It was just about as big as the World War III that might break out for 16th position in the championship. Jack LeBrock v. Will Davison.
They've had a few run-ins this year, haven't they, those two?
Grief. It is literally the battle, 16th and 17th in the point standing right now, and 2 of the 3 races, Willie got penalties for contact with Jack. Crazy.
Yeah, they've had a few this year, haven't they? And DJR, we should talk about them. Really were just a case of meh over the weekend. I mean, Brody raced really hard and sort of didn't get much to show for it all. Will had an absolute battle. Was it Saturday that he didn't get a lap in qualifying because the timing of getting a lap didn't work? Some penalties over the course of the weekend as well. It's just been an absolute shocker. And it's sort of weird, that team sometimes, when you watch the telecast and you see the weekend, and it was great to see Dick Johnson be there on the weekend. Remember the straight at Queensland Raceway, the main straight is the Dick Johnson straight. Kind of annoys me that people don't refer to it like that a lot because it is. It's painted on the wall. It has been for 25 years. But I'm sort of wondering, have they lost their direction on what's their methodology with their cars? I just heard an interview tonight. Clearly, Larko walked in on the broadcast today after qualifying, and clearly George and Brody had a very robust discussion, which sounds like it's the norm for them. It's just how they communicate and do it. Doesn't work for others, but it seems to work for them. But, it sort of almost feels like, do they know the direction that they want to go in with those cars? Because it looks like they're lost. And, Will's struggling. He's having a shocker. Sometimes it's bad luck. Sometimes it's contact on the track. Sometimes it's not getting a lap. But that's got to be absolutely pulling him to pieces because I know him so well and he prides himself on delivering. And Brody looks frustrated that it hasn't really started to flow. So I guess they've got to figure out what's the direction that they're going to take their cars and their team in. And, do they have the right leadership in place? We haven't seen Ryan's story for some time. He's been ill quite a bit the last few years. Dick's clearly at the point where, he's a minority owner. He's not the majority owner. He's not the big boss. He's the icon, though. He's an important part of the team. I don't remember seeing David Noble interviewed over the weekend. Who's the figurehead to really bang the table at that team? They've had this major investment in the off-season, but they've got these ingredients, but the cooking just hasn't looked like it's worked, bar that one win in Townsville so far. So Yeah, they've got a bit of work to do before they get to the Enduros because where would you put them on the list of Ford teams right now? They're definitely behind Grove. On the whole over the year, they're behind Tickford. Yeah, there's some work to do there, and I probably thought by now that it'd start to be getting going, but it doesn't look like it is.
Like Bridie's sixth in the championship. He had 2 fifth-place results from the weekend, which isn't terrible. It's just sort of meh.
It's meh.
But he was caught up in that rubbish at turn one Saturday afternoon, finished 24th in that one, which was an absolute disaster for him there, which was a shame. That was a bit of bowling there at turn one. It was it was like the throwback round. They had the throwback to the 1999 traffic jam and the throwback to the 1999 turn one shunt.
Yeah, there was a bit of a throwback going on. Not 40 cars in the field this year, but yeah, there were a few similarities, weren't there? Back to 26 years ago. It's funny how that sort of stuff works out. But a few other talking points over the course of the weekend. Much was made in the lead-up, Mark, of the change in the TV broadcast. It wasn't much of a change, really. I mean, Scott Pye got added in to do a couple of segments before races and before qualifyings. A lot was made of what he was going to bring and what he was going to do. He probably did about what I thought he would do.
Yeah. It's hard to say. I mean, I quite enjoyed Frosty over the weekend. I thought his sort of TV mannerisms were pretty good.
He looked a bit more comfortable this time around.
He did.
A little bit more.
I've done a little bit of live TV. You've done a lot of live TV. It's not easy.
No.
It does take practice to do this stuff. You can't just roll in there and be good at it day one. You know who talked really well? James Courtney, again.
Yeah.
Like the big piece they did with him yesterday around his 600th race, he was great.
Yeah, he's fantastic talent, James, and he's the standout. Great they've been giving Frosty a run, and Scott got an opportunity. He's been crying out for one for 12-odd months. He's been banging the door. He's been bagging people out. He's been doing his thing over on his channel. He got his opportunity, and if you lined them all up and went, all right, which one would you want to put on the broadcast team moving forward? It's James Courtney for me. He's you don't know what he's going to say. He doesn't say the same stuff as everyone else. He's got so much experience, and he's still got that devilish glint in the eye of cheek, despite being a mid-40-year-old. And I love what he brings whenever he's doing TV content. And it's honest, it's respectful, it's insightful, and it's engaging and entertaining. And they're all the boxes that I think you need to tick. He ticks them, more of them than these other guys who are getting these opportunities to have a crack. So, look, I think the weekend probably showed Scott that it's not as easy as it might seem, and I think he thought that going in anyway. Easy to have a hot take when you're sitting talking to a mate over a beer with your microphone. Very different when you've got to have it on live TV in front of the people that you've been critical of in the past, which, look, they all handled it very professionally, I thought, on the weekend. There was no really obvious blowback or anything. Everyone got on with the job. Whether that leads to another opportunity for Scott in the future, I'm not sure. But anyway, he had his opportunity, and he's seen what it looks like. So he's probably going to be a bit more informed now of what he critiques and what he discusses and analyses, because he's now experienced it, which is always a great way to be, because it's really hard to criticise something that you've not done or you don't know a heap about. If you can arm yourself up with more knowledge, you're going to be better for it. So kudos to Supercars for giving him a shot at it. It would be easy to... Look, it was probably a hard thing to make that decision because of the ramifications. It's always hard when someone's been, it's like, think about it in life. If someone's been bagging you out or your people out for a while, and you disagree with a lot of it, it's hard to then, have them turn up at your house and have them over for dinner kind of thing. But kudos to everybody involved. Whether he gets another chance, we'll see. But look, there's a lot of bodies in that broadcast now. There are a lot of former drivers. There are a lot of people. It's going to be really interesting what that lineup is for 2026 under the new rights deal. Because there's a lot of people that are getting a chance. There's a lot of people been there for a long time. There's a lot of people with a lot of views on what should and shouldn't happen and who should and shouldn't hold a microphone or do this or do that. I think that's probably now the really captivating part of the silly season, because there's still silly season to go in the drivers and teams, But the Tally Silly season's probably the one that people haven't thought so much about. But now that we're getting closer to the end of another season, that's probably going to come on the radar a little bit more.
I still love listening to Garth Tander.
It's great. Yeah, doing a great job.
He's very articulate. He's got credit. Like, I love his effort at the Bathurst 12 Hour with Richard Craill. You can put your phone in your pocket, run your headphones, you listen to Garth, you know what's happening on track. You don't feel like you're missing anything. It's to the point, and he tells the story, he breaks down the things that happen on track really well. I appreciate that. The thing with the TV coverage is it's an entertainment product at the end of the day, isn't it?
Yeah, that's true.
People are tuning in because they like it. If you don't like Supercars, you're not tuning in, are you?
Yeah, correct.
You don't want to be. You don't want to tune in and have the thing you like to be bagged out. I don't think.
No, and look, like anything, there's stuff that could be better. There's stuff that we've all got an opinion on that we think should be or shouldn't be. I mean, I have lots of thoughts about how I'd do things differently, but the fact is, I don't run it. I'm not on the broadcast team. I provide stats and numbers and do my bit to assist where I can, how I can. So, I can have all the opinions under the world, and, we always talk in our office about, did you see this and did you see that and would you do this and you could do that differently. There's a lot of those things, but there's also a way of how you can implement them, how you can suggest them. Sometimes it's better to go to the people direct and have a chat rather than, chatting to a podcast audience like we could here. If you really want to see the thing change or the outcome occur, life sometimes is about approach, which you tend to learn when you've been on the planet for a few more years.
I'd like to tip my hat to a few of the guys down the back of the pack who don't
tip away.
Necessarily get their flowers. But Cooper Murray, 6th in race 1 from 7th on the grid. That was a good effort.
Yeah, that was good.
Aaron Cameron, 9th to 9th in that race 1 as well. So that was good. His first top 10 results. Nicely done there. And also Zach Bates. That was impressive.
Yeah,
top 10 shootout. That was good.
Yeah, look, he is driving a 888 car, granted. He is driving at the test track of the team, granted. But you've still got to go and deliver. And let's not forget, he was double dutying Super 2, which, by the way, went horribly for him on the weekend. But to put it in the shootout, we went back through the records here. And this is actually, I want to tell our listeners about this because I know a lot of our Sleuth faithful, like the history, like the stats, like the info. So how many times do you think that a Supercars rookie on their debut weekend has gone and banged it in a shootout, whether it's top 10 or top 15 like the old days? How many times do you think that's actually happened?
I saw the stat, and I don't remember the stat, but it wasn't many.
You're right. It wasn't many at all. In fact, it's... the funny thing is it's actually happened a couple of times in recent times because Cooper Murray did it in Darwin last year when he debuted in the wildcard for 888. So, nice form between those guys to be able to do it. But when you go back through, before Cooper Murray, the last guy to do it was Ryan Briscoe for the Holden Racing Team. Sandown 2006... I was the PR guy that weekend. I remember being very happy. He actually was provisionally fastest in qualifying before the shootout, which was awesome. Andy Prio for Kmart, Queensland 500 in 02. That was a top 15 shootout, but it was his debut. Max Wilson earlier in the year in Adelaide on debut with Briggs Motorsport, put it in the shootout. Ambrose at Phillip Island in 01. And David Bernard at Queensland Raceway in the 500 in 2000. He was co-driver to Tony Longhurst, but of course he'd driven the V8 Lights rounds, and SBR gave Bezzy the chance to qualify that car, which was quite impressive given it was his debut weekend. So when you look back through, so Zach Bates, that's a pretty limited group of people who've been able to do that. He was 5th in the shootout. So he's kind of the best of the blokes that didn't have the fresh tyres. And you go back through, the last time anyone was 5th or better on their debut in a shootout on a debut weekend was Max Wilson in Adelaide. He was 5th in a top 15 shootout. So that puts into context what Zach Bates has done here. That was something really, really special and should be applauded. Now, the race went the other way because he got absolutely belted by Cam Hill, and then he got another one from Nick Percat not long after at turn 2 that saw Percat come up with a penalty for that one as well. So he got his ears boxed, but I think he knew he was in for some of that at some point. But he showed the sort of stuff that that shows he belongs there. So He'll be licking his wounds after the race, but he should be very happy with what he did in that shootout, because that was really impressive. And you know what? When you've been around a long time, and you and I now have been, when you see young drivers getting opportunity and then they do something with it, is pretty exciting to see. And who knows now? Like, a lot of people have linked him just because of the Toyota thing to Brad Jones Racing. I don't think necessarily there's a connect and an automatic pass through that he's going to get a drive there. They do have seats available, but his best approach to all this is to forget next year, forget what seats are available, because what he does in these endurance races and what he did on the weekend, that's going to define far more for him what he does next year and in the future, than sort of looking too far ahead and thinking about trying to swing a deal for next year. So, all right, the result sheet doesn't look flash for the races, but there's a lot of people who left Queensland Raceway on both sides of the fence with a very positive view of Zach Bates and what he's done. So, well played. And well played to Super Cheap Auto 2 and Triple Eight for doing that wild card again. It's given young guys an opportunity. It's given an old guy an opportunity to keep racing as well with Lounsey. I mean, Lowndes and Bates, could they run top 5, top 6, top 7, top 8 of the Enduros? CL and Cooper Murray were, 5th at Sandown, and probably were going to be not far off again at Bathurst until they got that late penalty. So, look, just excited to see these young guys get chances, but good chances with good teams in good cars, because that's what will set them up for the next bit. Sorry, I'm talking a long time and I'm sounding like an old greybeard, but I like it. It's great when you see these moments, because you look back on them in 10 or 15 years' time when some of these guys kick on and do awesome things in their career, and you go, yep, I remember that weekend. That, you know, we saw a lot there, and we saw a lot in the aftermath.
Well, it's how Cooper Murray's got his full-time gig this year. Erebus saw what he did in Darwin and they signed him up. So,
yeah,
good place to be. Clearly the form team, so if you want to be anywhere, it's where you want to be. And they're tucked away down the absolute other end of the pit lane come these Enduros, and they can absolutely sneak some stuff in from there, which is cool.
Yeah, and I liked also, while we talk of things that are cool, I liked the giving of the golden ticket to Brock Feeney at the end of Sunday. I think, did we talk about this on the pod, or we've been talking about in the office? Sometimes I can't distinguish between the two, but that, you know, like when the swimmers qualify to go to the Olympics, they get the boarding pass, the Qantas boarding pass. I reckon that, yeah, absolutely, and I presume that's what they're going to do after Bathurst, and go around presenting those to the drivers that have locked themselves in. But I think that's a cool way to do it. And then the next thing is that Brock Feeney, you know, he's gone and he's wrapped up that Boost Mobile pole check, which is $50,000, which is, I think that's the biggest pole award for the overall pole position champion of the year that's ever been given. So does he have to wait until the last race of the year to get that, even though he can't be beaten for it in August? How does that work?
I don't know. Try and cash it at the bottle shop now, see what happens. But he doesn't drink, so it's pointless.
That's true. Yeah, that's pointless. I did something else that caught my eye, which I did have a chuckle at this. Super 2 on the weekend, so... thankfully, Jared Hughes is okay, because, geez, that caught my breath when Mason Kelly's car took off and, you know, hit him sort of rear door B-pillar. That was a worry. Press conferences at Super 2 rounds are generally very quiet, but there are a few barbs thrown today that anyone might not have heard or seen it. I think it's on YouTube, on Supercars Championship channel or the Dunlop channel, one or the other. Ryland Gray and Jackson Walls both went really hard about teams needing to stop recycling drivers and give young guys a go, because they keep recycling drivers with budget. It was more sizzle from a Super 2 press conference that I've seen in about 20 years.
Interesting.
Well, I tell you what's interesting
is... Did they have a point?
Well, I'll tell you what's also interesting is that... so Jackson Walls drives for Triple Eight, the Objective Commodore. Last time I checked, Objective, which his dad Tony owns, is worth $1.12 billion and is at number 165 on the Financial Review Rich List of 2025. So I think either you need to pay more for the seat to get in, or... recycling guys with budget and experience is always going to be taken over guys with no experience and budget. So, got to be careful sometimes about what you complain about when you've only done 4 or so rounds of Super 2 in Supercars racing.
But we've got a situation this year where Warren Luff can't get a co-drive. Like, I think it's a pretty high quality co-driver list this year, really, when you think about it.
Yeah, and we're always going to get those guys that fall out of the system. Michael Caruso falls out this year. Dean Fiore falls out. I mean, those guys have been doing Enduros since the mid to late 2000s. And Luffy's been at Bathurst every year, I think, since 2002, I think, with Lansvale. He did some prior to that, but not in consecutive years. So it is a bit of the changing of the guard. But I just thought... Oh, look, it's good when young blokes actually get out and say something, but I thought it was a little bit interesting that, these guys were sort of wanting these... I get it. They're young, they want to get there, they want to do things, they want to move people out of the way, but... and look, they're doing some nice things there in Super 2, but you've got to put a few more runs on the board before you can go and start to make those sorts of calls. And, recycling guys with budget when, budget is what everybody needs to get on the grid. There's no one that's getting there without any budget at all. Is maybe not the card I would have pulled, but good luck to them, because we like when guys speak their mind and give us something to write about and talk about. So happy days.
Are you fired up for the AirTouch 500 at the Bend, Noons?
You know what? I am a Sandown 500 traditionalist. I'm used to the 500 being taken away from Sandown. Heck, it's happened a few times, brother. So it's kind of like I've seen this movie before. I like that we don't know what we're going to get. We could get the most boring 500k race in history. We might get a belter. We might get something in the middle. I like that it's unknown. I like that we don't know what we're going to get. I like that they've changed the fuel tank size this year. I like that they're going to make the co-drivers do, is it 37% of the race distance now minimum, not 33 or whatever it was beforehand. So they've changed enough things to just make it that little bit more awkward and not as easy flow. Great that they haven't brought that co-driver rule in and got rid of it to, the main game guys have got to start, all that sort of stuff. I'm genuinely not sure where we're going to be and all that, apart from the fact that Triple Eight are the team to beat. And it's just such a shame that we have to wait so long to have another Supercars race, because it's, a month before the next one. And we're trying to build a momentum towards those endurance races, and it's really hard to build. But I tell you what we are going to build, because we're going to do our bit for building, is that the undercut is coming back in the lead-up to the AirTouch 500 at the Bend. We've got a couple of episodes in September, and then another one before the great race at Bathurst in October as well. So that's locked in. We've got some great partners on board that we'll announce soon, and we can tell you right here, right now, that the undercut's coming back from our pilot episode that we did a little while ago. We've just been pulling together all of the commercial funding. It's our plan to punch out some more between Bathurst and the rest of the year as well. So plenty to talk about and plenty to build, but it's a shame we've got to wait. But at least there's more Supercars on track this week, because there's a test day Tuesday, there's a ride day as well. So our man Conor O'Brien is making some serious road trips in his car from the Gold Coast to Ipswich to Queensland Raceway. Was it Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Tuesday, Wednesday? So he's done some miles, and no doubt a few coffees consumed on the way through all that. But plenty of coverage and follow-up to come over the course of the test day and the ride day as well, because a chance to catch up with plenty of people, not just from what happened on the weekend, but what's going to happen in the next few weeks.
Well, we might be a fair way out from the Bend, but I can assure you the weather will be full Sandown spec. Whatever we were going to get at Sandown, we're going to get it at the Bend. Adelaide's weather is just one day removed from Melbourne, so it's going to be great.
Yeah, well, it heads from Adelaide to Melbourne, so you just rewind it a day and you know where it's come from and what it's going to be. So, look, plenty of stuff at least to talk about out of Queensland Raceway. There's a bit of niggle there between some people that will go on to the next round. Couple of cards have been punched to get to the finals. A couple of guys on the fringe of the finals. We've got plenty to talk about. We've got plenty to get excited about and plenty to analyse between now and the great race. And by the way, if you didn't know already, the Repco Bathurst 1000 official program is now open for pre-order. You can pre-order it now from our website, Superstore, the V8 Sleuth Superstore. You'll put the link in the show notes of this episode, I'm sure, when you're editing it, because that's the good bloke you are.
When we're editing the program and the podcast, yeah.
Well, multi-talented sort of a fellow that you are, that's for sure. It's going to be in news agencies this year. It'll be available early to mid-September in news agencies. But if you pre-order it or buy it online, you can get it direct directly sent to you. It will be at the track in the Repco trackside stores like the last few years. 144 pages, $20, plenty of historic and current reading. The Super Quiz is back, all the driver profiles, all the stats, all the things that you need to know ahead of the great race to add to your Bathurst 1000 program collection, which I'm sure for many dates right back to the Armstrong 500s of the 60s. And I think ours does at the office. I don't think we've missed any along the way. So get on board, get among it. It's a banger, and you've got to add it to the collection. Do yourself a favour, as Molly would say.
Good weekend of sport this weekend, Noons, and looking forward to the Enduros firing around.
Just a quick one before we go. Not Supercars content, but NASCAR.
Yes.
Xfinity Series, Connor Zilic and Shane Van Gisbergen. I'm not sure how you can be blamed when you're on the track and the guy that comes back from off the track that you didn't force off the track hits you off the track and the TV broadcast blames you. I'm staggered.
Yeah, they got a pretty wild take on the world there. That whole race was a bit nuts. Looking forward to the Cup race tomorrow morning. How nuts that's going to be, because the Xfinity race went full insane. Van Gisbergen got fenced. He got fenced into a safer barrier that was at right angles, which did nothing.
It wasn't very safer.
Accident.
It wasn't very safer.
It was an unsafer fence. Then Austin Hill, who's just spent a week on the sidelines for hooking Eric Almirola at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, he hooked Michael McDowell, did the exact same thing.
I know.
And caused the biggest crash in the history of the Xfinity Series at Watkins Glen, which dates back to 1991. Then Connor Zilic, he's yahooing, he's all excited because his fenced SVG won the race. He's absolutely clapped himself on the pavement trying to celebrate.
He's
out for the weekend with a broken collarbone and head injury.
I've never seen that before. I mean, I've seen guys slip off the roof or, carry on, but he goes to climb out of the car, gets his foot stuck, goes down hard. Like that could have been so much worse. Yeah. Like hitting his head on the ground. Like the fact that it's only a broken collarbone, and from what he posted online that he doesn't have head injuries, that he's cleared all that stuff, is staggering. But what a bizarre, weird, unbelievable day at the races, and that was just the Xfinity Series. So, but I'm still staggered that they were getting stuck in a Shane for. He was kind of like, he was blocking, and he therefore deserved it. And you go, wow, okay, different take, different rules, different style. So, anyway, look forward to the Cup race in the morning, mate. All the action will be on the V8 Sleuth website in the morning with the full report of what happens with SVG. Sport the winner today, my friend.
I think Sport had a points victory, yes.
Always good to get a points win and not a TKO. That's definitely for sure.
Sport is going all the way to the finals.
It is, and literally it's going via the Enduros. So, yeah, big weekend at Queensland. Thrilled to see so many people there. If you were at the track over the weekend or indeed on Friday, love to hear from you. Send us a note through the V8 Sleuth website or socials on your feedback, what was great, what was bad, what they need to improve, what you liked. About the facilities, lots of change there over the last 5 or 6 years. And just fingers crossed that track is going to be on the calendar for next year as well. So anyway, that's us done. We are going to pack it up and stop ourselves from carrying on a Sunday night. I think we've done enough. Big thank you to the National Motor Racing Museum for all their support. They're on board with the podcast for the next couple of months as we now start this road to the Repco Bathurst 1000. The great race is 2 months away. Christmas for car racing fans is not far away. We can't wait for it. Keep checking the website, keep listening to the podcast, keep jumping on the Superstore, and we'll chat with you again very, very soon. Bye for now.